Just a very high level of craftsmanship. Good childhood memories with this thing. If you're not feeling blue that day, flip it over. Now you have a ruby heart pendant. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I have another mystery box prepared, and this is just a collection of some of the interesting things we've come across this week. My jewelry store is always buying scrap gold, platinum, sometimes sterling silver, and my dad prepares these boxes of just some of the interesting pieces he's come across this week, and then I like going through piece by piece and sharing it with you all. So we'll start off with this guy here. This looks like probably a 14 karat yellow gold opal ring, and it's a pretty ring, but something like this is a great example of something that we tear apart and then we would send the mounting to our refinery to be processed. So I know this will probably upset some of you, but just want to show you the process. We just kind of pull back the prongs here, and it's kind of tricky when you're not under a microscope, but we'll do our best. So we'll just get one of those prongs pulled back, and then we just go through and pull out the gemstone. And these opals, then we'll save them, and I have to be careful because opals are very fragile, but we pretty much just pull them out and put them to the side and keep them for, you know, if someone might come in with a ring like this and their opal broke in half, and then we have opals to replace them with if they're in good condition. We go through any of these pieces that will be sent away to the refinery and tear them apart and process them as such. But moving on, this is kind of interesting. What's this? Compass. So little compass charm. It is stamped. This is actually sterling silver, so pretty nice compass. This one keeps jumping out at me. I'll talk about this now. I do know what this is. This is considered mourning jewelry. This is what someone would have worn after losing a loved one to signify their, state of mourning. And you can tell that by the color black, the ribbon. There's like marcasite set inside of that ribbon. I do have some in our estate case just for display purposes that actually has the deceased person's hair incorporated in the item. So it might be like a braided piece of their hair behind like a piece of glass, or I've even seen earrings made of hair that's braided together. I know some of you that have seen some of my videos about mourning jewelry have left comments, so if you know about mourning jewelry, feel free to discuss below, because I am not a real expert on it, but I do know that's what this is. So very old piece, and that's just something that used to be common. Moving on, it looks like we have a diamond bracelet. This one is white gold, and this is a really common style. Some of you might even have something similar to it, but these are all Baguette diamonds. This will be torn apart and melted down. I'm not going to do that on this video because getting this type of diamond out is kind of a pain. We have to go through and cut out these channels and then pretty much pry the diamonds out one by one. But this is a great example of how baguettes are often cut to fit exactly inside of the piece that they're set into. So you can kind of see these aren't cut with like perfectly straight lines. They're almost angled like puzzle pieces to fit together perfectly. So in a situation where someone loses one of these baguettes, it's pretty tricky to find one that has the perfect angle and the perfect length and width to fit in there perfectly. But this isn't the highest quality bracelet by any means. Like, some of these diamonds aren't level with each other. Oftentimes you'll see these cracked in half, especially in rings, because rings take a lot of abuse. Yeah, that's a good example of a Baguette diamond bracelet. And then we have, this is a pretty big piece. This is sterling silver, pretty heavy duty necklace, and there is marcasites set up at the top, but then also all through the main portion of the necklace. And marcasites can be kind of a pain also. Like even if you put this in the ultrasonic cleaner, a lot of times these come flying out. You can see there's one missing here, and they just get glued in place. They're often found in pieces of costume jewelry like this, but yeah, that's what this is. I'm actually surprised there's not more missing, so still in pretty good shape. We have a little blue sapphire and diamond ring here, and this is still a good style. Like we even make new modern engagement rings in a similar style to this, but it's nice and balanced. You can put pretty much any shape, any size in the center. These aren't the highest grade diamonds or anything like that, but this will get torn apart and melted down. Then we have a watch. I've been getting a lot of these vintage watches on here. This is a mechanical watch. You can just tell by the weight of it. Looks like it has some damage to the crystal down here, the bottom right corner. Just an old stainless steel watch, not really valuable by any means, but just a neat old piece here. This one's kind of funny. This is a pendant, and you know, this is a really common style, just a heart-shaped blue sapphire pendant, but perfect for someone who's indecisive, because if you're not feeling blue that day, flip it over. Now you have a ruby heart pendant. So something you don't see all the time. It's kind of a good idea, you know, you get 2 for 1. So instead of having 2 pendants, just go with this one here. And as I go through this, I want to thank everyone who supports my channel, whether it's through liking these videos, subscribing, or leaving comments. I do my best to reply to as many comments as I can get to. I always love the good questions or the stories you guys might have about your own pieces. And I did recently add memberships to the channel, and I'm working on building some separate tiers there that will bring you guys different types of content. So maybe members only videos, early access to videos, different emojis or something like that. And I did notice that some of you have already found that feature down below, but if you're feeling extra generous and you want to support me even more, feel free to get a membership down below. So this is looks like a sterling silver ring, but something that is really cool about this is all a piece of wire that's wrapped around this oval cabochon jade, and that would have required a lot of patience there. So I give whoever made this a ton of credit. This is something I would have never attempted myself, but yeah, there's a lot of really skilled wire wrappers out there. You know, it's something you don't see too often. This is definitely something like you couldn't resize or anything, but just a very high level of craftsmanship went into something like this. So I wouldn't tear this apart. This is just too cool to destroy. But yeah, this is just a lot of work goes into things like this. The stone's a little crooked, but tons of time and skill went into this. So this one's kind of funny. Some of you might know what this is. This is called an abacus, and I'm not sure exactly how you use an abacus, but from what I understand, it was kind of like the first generation calculator, maybe, if you want to call it that. But this one's made out of 18 karat gold, and what's funny about this is I actually wore this exact pendant whenever I was a little kid. I grew up around the industry. My father's been a jeweler my whole life. Whenever I was a little kid, I thought this was just kind of neat. I obviously didn't know what it was back then, but I actually wore this pendant. Kind of a throwback for me to see this. Good childhood memories with this thing, but definitely won't melt this one down. Just kind of a neat little, somewhat functional pendant there. You can see the little rings slide back and forward there. So that's the story on that guy. And then it looks like this is an award pendant, might have been part of a bracelet. We come across these a lot. there's a local steel mill that used to give out rings and watches and things like that. And these are just like corporate gifts that people receive for 10 years service, 20 years service with the company. This is probably 20 year because 2 diamonds. This, let's see what it says. Railroad retirement board. So someone worked for a railroad company and would have received this. So something like this, we would just remove the diamonds and then melt the gold down. But that's it for this box, and I will see you guys on the next one.